It is mind-blowing.
And heartbreaking.
How many original scripts are written every year but are never made?
So we seek out these scripts and bring them to life with full audio production and professional actors.
Check us out at Undiscovered Scripts.
Movies made of paper.
Wherever you get your podcasts.
Free!
Hello everyone, we're Superhero Stuff You Should Know, and if you think you know about superheroes and comic books, think again.
We got romance, we got action,
Romance.
we got comedy, we got everything you need, man. Come on down to Superhero Stuff You Should Know for all your superhero needs.
I don't know about this romance. What part are you talking about?
We've got all kinds of sketches, and then deep dives on top of that. Come on down to Superhero Stuff You Should Know.
Alright, so come on down to... Wait, why did I say come on down? To Superhero Stuff You Should Know.
Hey everybody, welcome to the first episode of Listener Submitted Month this year in 2024. And we are discussing this week Forbidden World from 1981. I've got the email here. It's a lengthy one, but it's a good one.
Yeah, read all the criticism from him too.
So it says, "Hey dudes, I'm stepping up to the plate again to try to knock this movie into your ballpark, and I've got some great points to make. I listened to the Patreon episode about what you didn't pick and why last year, but my submission again is Forbidden World. Scott, Forbidden World isn't rapey. You're confusing it with Galaxy of Terror, where a giant bug takes advantage of a woman until she dies. In fact, the ladies in this one are much hornier than all of the men, so you're vetoing the wrong movie." He goes, "My fault, Matt. I should have explained the sanitation shower scene a bit more. It's just them standing still naked while a weird VFX happens around them as they are sanitized," in quotes. "Also, you can't love the Invisible Maniac as much as you do and veto a movie because of a single shower scene." Kyle,
Fair.
This also is an Inseminoid. Yes, completely different movie, and yes, Inseminoid is also super grapey.
Yeah.
I'm getting frustrated hearing you guys label Forbidden World so poorly because you had the wrong movies in mind, but I still love you anyway. The other title for Forbidden World is Mutant. Anyway, I still stand by what I said in my earlier submission. I do think that this was a warm blanket of a movie with a cool monster and some great gooey effects at times and a cute-ass robot friend. All that said, I do feel like I've said too much at this point and hope I haven't overhyped the movie for you guys, but I would really love to hear what you think. I'll leave you with my favorite dumb quote from the movie. "Strawberry shortcake always comes with whipped cream." Hope you guys are having an incredible summer. I've really been enjoying the most recent episodes, and it feels like you three have really found a new groove, and it works so well. Always looking forward to the discussions to see what movies you guys are chatting about. There's one thing you've gotten rid of in the episodes that I really do miss, especially if it's a movie that I haven't heard of or seen, and that's just going through the plot beats of the movie. I loved when it used to bring up notes that someone in the group might have forgotten about, or just talking about the plot more in general and discussing why it's such a dumb plot, etc. Sometimes I don't know why you said what you said about a movie because I don't have any idea what's happening in the movie, or I can't remember what the movie being discussed was supposed to be about because the details of the movie are so sparse. Good friend of mine that is a listener had the same feeling. That's why I wanted to air this feeling. You are still a 5-star podcast for me, and I will always listen regardless. You're my number one podcast, and I've even got a long-ass playlist of just HMN best episodes. Anyway, gotta stop slacking at work, so I'll chat with you guys later. Have an amazing August. Keep doing what you do because it helped me through so many tough and stressful times in my life. Thanks for being who you are, Benji. Well, Benji, not only did we pick your movie, we're bringing it back, baby. Kyle, you jumped in on this one. You said you took down the notes.
I did, Benji. I hear you. I hear you, and I had a lot of fun doing this. I don't know I mean, this is the first of my attempt at some sort of version of what you're asking for here, and I think we're going to have some fun. So thank you for bringing that to our attention, and I am going to kick things off with a beer.
I mean, after talking that much, you're going to have to.
So I got Space Broccoli by Other Half on deck because they had some serious weird space food in this movie, and Space Broccoli accompanies it.
Yeah, I think
though
they were
was
actually
nothing
trying
really
to
green.
make space broccoli, and that's how they made the monster.
They had it was some big issues.
And I have Hazecraft because my memory of this film, even of the reasoning behind what people do in it, is hazy, and it's also got a spaceship on it. So there we go.
Yeah, we were all a little unsure of what was going on here.
Not as unsure as next week, but we'll get
No.
But like, let's just say when I sat down, sometimes when I see that a movie's on Tubi, my immediate fear is like, oh, great, there's going to be like an extra 30 minutes in this movie just in ads when I sit down to watch it. But then when I hit play and I saw hour 17 minutes, I thought, that's fine.
Dude, yeah, I can deal with it. And it moved too.
It did.
Really did. It really did. So I'm excited about this here. And guys, feel free you can jump in. I'm not just gonna go for it, but if there's something you want to talk about, go through it. But I have a little ditty here. So some call him Space Cowboy. Some call him the Gangster of Love. Some people call him Mike Kobe, intergalactic handyman, who gets called to the desert planet Xarbia to deal with a mutant problem at a space station. A very sick scientist who, funny enough, looks like a mutated version of Stanley Tucci and Tim Burton, informs Mike Kobe that the station's entire zoo of test animals has been massacred and Subject 20 has incubated itself inside of one of the holding areas.
I want to pause. Right here already because I feel like we've already streamlined through the first most important note that I wrote, which is that this movie opens with legally not a stormtrooper piloting a flying legally not a no-skip Discman through outer space.
No-skip Discman? It was thick. There was no skips, no issues there.
Also, I think that you're missing the fact that before that, even any of that, we have like an intro trailer?
Yeah,
which is like
yes,
sexy as hell. This is the sexiest intro to a movie, and I don't understand. It's like you're already watching the movie. I'm trying to put myself in the thought process of like somebody watching this movie in 1982. Let's say that it's like, you know, you're watching a home video version of this in the very early 80s. You don't need a trailer for the movie that you already rented.
Yeah, well, and I also think, so something that I learned doing a little bit of research on this movie, and I think that this absolutely sets up everything that happens before it, is this was a cheapo make. They basically, it's not wrong that we confuse this with Galaxy of Terror because they basically used every single set from Galaxy of Terror in making this movie to save money. But also, apparently, this has happened a couple times with Roger Corman, where the original director kind of had fun with the movie and made it goofy, and then Roger Corman was just like, cut all the laughs. And so, like, you do end up with this movie that, like, it is 77 minutes, and it moves pretty well at 77 minutes, but also this movie could just be 40 minutes. Like, there's so much, so many scenes that, like, add nothing to the plot, but they're just kind of there to pad out time.
Yeah, which is crazy because we could have so much fun with all of this. Yeah. And we do. I'm not saying it's not fun, but it's totally a weird version of what could have been.
I don't know if there is a director's cut available, but I know that Scream/Shout Factory has put out like multiple Blu-rays of this in different editions. So I would love to see it with the comedy mixed back in maybe, but anyway, I clearly Roger Corman loves this script because he apparently remade it like a decade later as Dead Space.
As Dead Space, which which is so people talk about Michael Haneke remaking funny games again, or Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2, but yes, I get Forbidden World and Dead Space are my true remakes, Roger Corman remakes.
We just did Night of Living Dead in 1990, Night of the Living Dead. Like, that's another pretty solid almost note for note remake, but
it's true.
All right, sorry, Kyle, I did not mean to interrupt.
Don't be sorry. This is we're feeling it out. We're getting back into it. And the Stormtrooper was very important, or the not Stormtrooper was very important. During a dinner of genetically engineered strawberry shortcake without whipped cream, mind you, one of the ship's staff, Jimmy, gets attacked by the mutant, and the creature escapes the lab. Jimmy's body gets transported to the medical wing, but by now, everyone has worked their union hours and they all disperse. Both female station employees get nude. Tracy Baxter, Jimmy's girlfriend and whose occupation is ambiguous, gets naked for us, while Dr. Baxter gets naked with and for Mike Colby. So we have a lot going on here. Everybody's done with their day, and we're all getting nude. And the horniness just amps up.
The horniness amps up. And also, like, I just want to read a note that I wrote around here because we're right about this part of it all. But I said, like, this film's filled with classic unnecessary nude scenes from Roger Corman, but also it exists in this world where I can't decide if the editing is brilliant or absolutely obnoxious. And it's with and it shines the most during the nude scenes because they're like, it's like, oh, it can't just be, this is a sci-fi movie. It can't be regular nude scenes. It's got to be spacey nude scenes. So, like,
dude,
it'll be like flashing lights and shit. And
well, but it's like the sex, the main sex scene with the blonde is interspersed with somebody getting murdered.
Yeah.
Yes. And I feel like that if you were a horny teenage boy in the early 80s renting this, being like, I'm going to see some titties.
It's a very confusing boner at that point.
I feel like that would be pretty formative into making you really like freaky porn.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. You know? Correct. No, because I listen, Benji, I know you swore up and down that this has nothing to do with Galaxy of Terror or Inseminoid. I understand. But as adult men who got confused with all of these movies, can you imagine a pubescent boy just traveling through space and time through Roger Corman's filmography, looking for titties and getting very confused by this whole thing? Okay, it's strange, again, but this is sort of weirdly, tastefully done sci-fi nudity, very horny. I mean, if you thought you knew bisexual lighting, you didn't until you watched this movie. This is where it started. Bisexual lighting is a low-budget tactic, and just because they use it in Euphoria doesn't mean that Corman didn't perfect it.
I will say, though, that there's nothing bisexual about the men in this. It's literally sapphic lighting, if anything at all.
That's true.
You know?
That's very true. That's very true. Yeah.
When
The
men are
terminology
men and
wasn't
women will
quite
have
there.
sex with anything is really what Roger Corman is.
Very that. And we know this because security officer Earl watches them from the control center and then wants to get a closer look, I think. I couldn't quite tell if he heard something mysterious or if he was just going to be a creepier voyeur. That was not clear to me.
Why not both, Kyle?
Why not? I mean, yes. I mean, that's where the horniness amps up. He's like, wait a second. Was there something else out there? Was there a tentacle monster? I don't know.
I thought I heard something over there, and lucky for me, it's sex. So
so he's so that security officer gets killed. Yes. So go figure. So now we got two bodies, and we're not sure where this monster is. Dr. Baxter and Mike Colby have a lovely evening, but the horniness doesn't stop the next morning when Mike Colby goes and tries to console... No, Tracy, excuse me. Who was the other woman? Oh, I didn't write her down her name, of course.
Well, you can just say the blonde and the brunette, because they're...
Okay.
That's really, like, I don't know anything about them, because they're both, like, one is, like, blonde scientist and smarter, and then there's brunette scientist?
Yes, mark? Yeah, I don't know what her job is.
I think she's more like a lab tech.
Yes, okay, that's good. I buy that. I buy that for $1.
Oh, shit. Before we go beyond the sex scene, I forgot there are two great things that happen in that sex scene that we haven't talked about yet. One is the tagline for this movie that should have been, which is, this is an Alien ripoff. I mean, for anybody that didn't get what this movie is, it's an Alien ripoff, because it literally, like, Alien 79, and then Roger Corman's like, I can make a buck off that. And so they really should have leaned into the humor and had the tagline be, in space, no one can hear you cream.
Yeah.
It's right there.
It's right there, Roger Corman. He wants to be serious. But
and then he can just rely on the whipped cream line that we were talking about with the strawberry shortcake. There's, exactly. He can just allude to that.
Yeah, like the
don't be pervert.
Yeah, exactly. So the other thing is that there's a game that I guess he's like a space mechanic. He's playing.
He's a space mechanic.
He's a space mechanic. It's not the guard. It's the guy who's like, I know that it's supposed to be him playing space clarinet, but it's really a question of is it space clarinet or space bong? Because it could literally be one or the other.
It could be one or the other.
Again,
it could be both.
Why not both?
In the future.
I mean,
can you imagine?
Sound off in the comments. Has anybody smoked out of a woodwind instrument? Has anybody figured out a way to do this?
I feel like someone has had to.
I don't know if our listenership is the correct group to ask. Maybe I can ask my bandmates because I feel like those guys would know.
Yeah.
Carly's flute is kicking around here somewhere. I will report back.
I feel like so.
Also, a flute's not a woodwind.
Yeah, that is brass.
Fuck.
I feel like a clarinet.
They don't belong in ska, nonetheless.
Although there's that hardcore band where the guy who's like super fucking jacked plays flute. You ever heard of that band? I don't even remember the name.
Jethro Tull.
No, they're
young guys. Scott was going to get mad.
Jethro Tull was not jacked. Anyway.
Yeah.
But
I'm glad you brought that up. That was Jimmy. Jimmy was the character who plays the space clarinet and space jazz musician.
If you are trying to get high off of an instrument, I think that you'd have a lot better chance with a woodwind like a clarinet or an oboe, or you could do hash, or you could do a dab through an oboe. Man!
Yeah!
Wow!
No, that's for sure.
Yeah. But I don't think the flute would really work because, like, even if you were to suck out of it, it's like the hole is below you blow downward, you know.
Sure.
You don't put anything in your mouth. So space clarinet, I think, might be the way to go to get
space
high.
Clarinet. Sure. We'll have to wait a few more years for space clarinet for
get some Gen X. A millennial billionaire in space. Get these fucking Gen Xers out of here because they don't. Yeah. They're not down.
They're not having fun.
Doritos. No, they just want to go up there to like wave their dicks around. Anyway, continue with your your plot.
Do we
summary.
find out what this creature is?
Oh, yes. Okay. So, Mike Colby goes and tries to console Tracy,
with his dick,
whose boyfriend just died with his penis. Yeah. And then
do you think that he took a shower after banging the blonde, or did he just go like dirty?
No
dick?
Shot, dude. Oh. No dirty dick, right? Yeah. They're all very close on this ship, and it works in record time. She's consoled. She's free of her grief, but then cockblock subject 20 drops down from the grate, and Colby shoots at it. Nothing. It either deflects the bullets or dodges them completely, and now it's up to all the men on the spaceship to go out into the desert planet and see if they can find this creature. So 3 men plus the cutie patootie robot assistant named Sam go out into the desert to find the monster. We see the monster in full form, which the first full form of this monster is very cool. It's a xenomorph head on a tarantula body, and it eats Dr. Gordon Hauser, the captain of the station. And that's very cool. Yeah. Love that one. Like, it was really exciting to see, because the cocoon was cool. The cocoon, like, in the incubated cocoon was very neat. The effects of this movie are awesome.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I feel like there's a lot of scenes.
Awesome.
Like, the very first kill in this movie, I literally wrote, like, it's crazy how simple but super effective it still is, right? Because it's like a guy, basically, he comes from the Bruce Campbell school of fighting against yourself.
Oh, yeah.
But, like, he's got, like, gunk on his hand and he's flailing around this lab smashing up stuff. But it is, like, effectively horrifying in a weird way. We're just like, oh, fuck. Even, like, when Earl's corpse shows up, it is, like, fantastically fake. You know what I mean? Like, it's, like, everything that you look for in, like, a cheap, low-budget 80s horror movie is like, yes, that is a full prosthetic body. Yes, it looks fake as hell, but man, did they make it look awful, whatever happened to this fake as hell corpse. Like, it's this delicate
It's the best of both worlds, for sure.
But I also am charmed that in 20 years, and I guess it's kind of a, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, like, Corman's Corman's monster effects have not evolved from the 60s, where it's like this creature is as mobile as any of the Attack of the Killer Crab monsters. You know what I mean? Like, it's just these gigantic props that can't move well. So it's like the shots of it moving is clearly just a gang of teamsters pushing this prop, like to make it
gravity,
move.
or you drop it from, drop it from above.
That was the best, like because the arms were just like,
and it's fun and it works. You know, it works on some level that I really enjoyed.
But that's why I get confused by Corman when he's like, no comedy in this movie. This is a serious sci-fi movie, and it's like, dude. No one's coming to this movie and loving Forbidden World because they think it's a tight script that's really horrifying.
No.
Right? You know what I mean? Like, it's like, just lean into it, have fun with it. And like, that's part of the charm is the low budget of it all. Like, just, he's a very confusing man in that way.
He's confusing. You know, and you're right, that mutated body that falls, the piles of protein, as I called them, this gross, like, this lab it becomes a chaos zone because all these piles of human matter that are also forming and molding.
And they can also finally kind of infect you, right? Is that the implication?
They are looking to feed upon you. So once they kind of get once they stop breastfeeding and can eat solid foods, they will, which happens in 10 minutes. So we're in this lab now. After we deal with the monster outside, we go back to the lab where Stanley Tucci, Tim Burton hybrid is with the ladies. And there's his lab is just a mess, covered with piles of matter that have come from Jimmy's body, the first death. This body is morphing and whatever. And we finally kind of figure out what happened. And there was a previous woman on board who I guess was going to become a guinea pig here and got incubated with Subject 20. And Subject 20 came to term in 2 weeks, ultimately killing and devouring and eating Annie, the employee, from the inside out, and just becoming what we now know as Subject 20, who continues to change and take different forms, which is crazy. And this has all been too much to deal with, so the ladies go into a sanitation shower. They just need to rid themselves of this ickiness that has fallen upon them. So they're in the shower for a while, and seemingly a shower thought. Dr. Glasser was the other one, not Tracy, but Dr. Glasser decides that they can communicate with Subject 20 through a computer.
Yes.
Brilliant idea. You know, only a doctor of such stature can figure that out, because Subject 20 has now basically become the computer room, like the control center. Subject 20 has now taken over. This control center is atop the computer, and the doctor asks the overall question, can we coexist? To which the monster answers with a swift tentacle, I'm going to say up the hoo-ha and through her back, because
really
that's basically
does imply
what...
that's...
It implies that. It does not show that in, you know, we're talking about so much nudity. Luckily, it doesn't, like, not cannibal holocausting this thing here. It's pretty tastefully done, but it also feels like that's exactly what happened here. So they cannot coexist. And hell continues to break loose because this monster just continues to become a different version of itself over and over again. Like, it becomes like
having
a
real identity crisis throughout the whole movie.
Real identity crisis. It becomes like kind of a furball cocoon after this death, to which it electrocutes our jazz
space
clarinet,
space
clarinet, our space mechanic, Jimmy, by diarrheaing all over him. It just phantasm yellows all over Jimmy and electrocutes him, which is kind of the strangest death of them all.
He got electrocuted by alien piss, but you're probably close.
It was just thick. But I would imagine that alien piss is thick.
Well, maybe
this dude's not drinking a lot of water. It's a desert planet.
Yes, it may just be that it has a cloaca, so all the piss and poop comes out. Mm-hmm. I love how I said piss, but I didn't say shit, because we can't say shit on this show, but I can say piss.
No. You can say piss.
Yeah.
Sometimes piss feels more offensive than shit, and it's not your fault. It's just like sometimes, like,
listen,
piss.
I'm going to remind you that we have proper terms for both of these things. What we're saying is that it's sissied and grumpied all over this person.
Brian, things just start to think. I mean, it's already fired up. This movie again is an hour and 7 minutes, so this is a kind of an unrelenting movie. The only slowed down parts are when people are nude. Yeah. There's nothing that
boy
like,
does
really
the movie
down.
come to a standstill if there's boobs out.
If there's yeah. We really work on that. So the piles of pulp are growing, as is the mutant, who has very inconsistent but very gross cocoons. This hairy cocoon kills. I'm sorry, his name's not Jimmy. His name's Brian. Oh. Jimmy was the first death. Brian is the mechanic and the musician. But listen, we have figured out a way to kill this monster because Dr. Cal Tucci Burton, it has a tumor. He's been coughing all movie. He's been sick. I just assumed he was drunk. Turns out he has full-blown cancer.
Yeah.
And he figures out that if you just feed the cancerous tumor to Subject 20, his metabolism will devour the cancer, will spread through his body, and he should be dead in like 15 minutes. So, but there's nobody left on the ship that can really help except space cowboy Mike Colby and lab assistant Tracy, who is now in distress again. And Dr. Cal commands and walks through his own removal of the tumor to Mike Colby to then have Colby cut it out of him with very little morphine. Like they barely save him, and they don't. He eventually dies. Sam, the robot, sacrifices himself to buy us some time, and then Mike Colby slam dunks the tumor into Subject 20's mouth. And this is Mike Colby, who earlier said, I wouldn't be able to tell a gene from a jelly bean, which I still don't fully understand what that means.
Well, but space jelly beans, man. We don't know.
I mean, yeah, space jelly beans could have become a whole different thing. And genes are still genes, whether you wear them or you're made of them. Sam plays a little defense, sacrifices himself. Mike dunks. The mutant immediately gets cancer and dies, and now Mike and Tracy can finally fuck at last.
Yes.
At least after they sanitize themselves.
Yes.
And credits. I think we actually flash back again to the trailer and recap the movie.
Why
if I remember correctly.
Great
just another minute and a half trailer right at the end. Do you remember what you watched? This is what you watched. Do you remember what you saw in the beginning of the movie? Yeah, you saw it. It's a really wild movie, and I'm glad that we got recommended it. I know I jumped around a little bit. This is a wild flick, and I'm glad that we finally picked it. Thank you, Benji, again for suggesting it.
Yeah. No, the only other thing that I had that I felt like we needed to call out is the synth score throughout this movie is pretty dope, I have to say. For like a cheapo Roger Corman movie where my expectations on the score is always basically like in the toilet, I was like, oh, this is like a pretty competently thrown together little like synth score that they have here. I did check the Shout Factory DVD Blu-ray does come with the original cut of the movie that got rejected by Corman for having too much humor. So maybe we can check into that. And the special effects. So a couple quick production notes from the Wikipedia page. The film was shot under the working title Mutant over a course of 20 days for a schedule of under $1 million. Due to the rapid pace of filming / production, cast and crew had to be careful what they touched or what they stepped on, as there was wet paint all over the set while they were filming. And then during
That's why
editing...
they needed decontamination showers.
Yes, yeah, those are legit showers. They didn't have consent forms for showering there.
Well, and then while they were filming, while they were editing, the director realized that they did not have nearly enough footage of the mutant and called in John Carl, I want to say his last name is Buechler, Buechler. Who,
I don't know how you say it, but I know who you're talking about. Yeah,
who unfortunately passed away in 2019, but... horror movie night royalty here. Special effects guy who worked at Empire for a really long ass time. I'm not going to go down his entire resume, but I'll go down the horror movie night based titles that matter. Worked on Mausoleum, worked on Tracers, worked on Reanimator, Ghoulies, Troll, From Beyond, Terror Vision, Dolls, Ghoulies 2, Prison, Cellar Dweller, which he also directed.
He directed,
Yep. Okay.
He directed Did he direct a Friday the 13th?
He directed Part 7, The New Blood. He also directed Troll, actually. Halloween 4, he did all the special effects for.
Bro,
Nightmare on Elm Street 4, he did the special effects for. And a couple big ones for us still that I need to mention. Arena in 1989, he did.
Nice.
Bride of Reanimator, he did the special effects for. Freddy's Dead, Demonic Toys, and the first 2 Carnosaur movies, and then the last 2 that he did that we covered, Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers, and Project Metal Beast.
Damn, man, he's done probably more movies than anybody else. He's had his fingers in
special effects wise. Oh yeah,
no, not even just special effects. I think anybody, actor, director, production team.
That would be really interesting to figure out who is sort of the name that has appeared. I mean, you might be right. You might just have called him
It's very, very. It probably honestly would be like a special effects guy or like Charles Band. I feel like Charles Band's the only other possible name.
Yeah. I think they're neck and neck, but I think that this guy wins.
I think he wins too.
It is mind-blowing
and heartbreaking
how many original scripts are written every year but are never made.
So we seek out these scripts and bring them to life with full audio production and professional actors.
Check us out at Undiscovered Scripts.
Movies made of paper.
Wherever you get your podcasts.
Free!
Hello everyone, we're Superhero Stuff You Should Know, and if you think you know about superheroes and comic books, think again.
We got romance. We got action.
Romance.
We got comedy. We got everything you need, man. Come on down to Superhero Stuff You Should Know for all your superhero needs.
I don't know about this romance. What part are you talking about?
We've got all kinds of sketches, and then deep dives on top of that. Come on down to Superhero Stuff You Should Know.
All right, so come on down to... Wait, why did I say come on down? To Superhero Stuff You Should Know.
Are you troubled by trying to find a great movie podcast to listen to?
Do you experience a love for monster movies from the classic Universal era to the modern creature features?
Have you or your family ever watched episodes of Elvira, Monster Vision, or Svengoolie?
If the answer is yes, then don't wait another minute. Open up your podcatcher and search for the professionals. The Monster Rally Podcast.
Our hilarious and asinine hosts have an ever-growing library of episodes for you to listen to 24 hours a day to serve all your monster movie needs.
We'll talk about it.
If we have nothing else to add, I say we roll into the double features. And since you did such a beautiful job giving us the plot description, Kyle, I think you should get first.
No, can you? That's the thing I didn't do. I wrote this whole thing, and so I'm gonna pass it back to you.
Well, then I'll
figure it out.
I'll take the reins from this.
I'm just kidding.
There's, Scott said it earlier. This is an obvious Alien ripoff. So double feature. Let's watch Aliens, the other sequel that would have came out a couple years later to Alien. Nice. Scott will help Kyle buy more time, and we'll go to you.
Yeah, I would actually go with Pitch Black, which I think it's Desert Planet. It's almost the exact same movie.
It's kind of shocking we have never even discussed maybe doing Pitch Black.
So close to doing Pitch Black. I think it was 2022. It's probably come off of my list on Trello, but it can go back on. It's not like we're going anywhere.
Do you have Dark City on the list too?
I think it's on Matt's list actually. I want to do it, but I think
Dark City someone should do it
on Matt's list.
Yeah.
Maybe you, Kyle. I mean, we know how much you identified yourself as a Crow fan. Speaking of which, we're recording this the day the new Crow movie came out.
Dude, I think I'm going to go on Monday at like 1:30, and I've heard nothing but bad things already.
I think you could go at 9 p.m. tonight, and it would still be the same amount of people that you would see at 1:30.
Someone in L.A. posted the following sentence. Oh my God, I wish I could remember who wrote it so I could show you. But he literally wrote... Look, we all know Borderlands was bad, but they couldn't release 2 bad movies this summer. So I think we should all go to the Crow premiere. And it was a picture of the like theater where the premiere is happening, and only 4 seats had been booked out.
Oh my god!
Oh no! Well, they moved the date, so I mean, it was gonna be. Okay, yeah, I can't. I'm gonna withhold judgment.
But it doesn't seem like it's good. From the early reviews have not been kind.
But as we talked, the rewatch of The Crow that we had.
It's not that it's a great movie that much anyway.
No, no. So my expectations have been lowered by revisiting the original, which has been nice.
Well, apparently the one thing that I keep reading is anyone who's given it 3 to 5, and I've checked this. I checked Letterboxd today just out of curiosity. Yeah. And I said, let me find what's the highest rated review, like star rated review in Letterboxd so far. And I was able to find exactly 1 3-star review, and the entire review just said Skarsgård is so beautiful.
Yeah, so, that's undeniable. Okay. That's undeniable. That's undeniable. I'm gonna go. Scott, did you just go?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did Pitch Black.
Thank you. Okay. Oh, that's yes. I'm gonna go Star Crash. Luigi Cozzi's Star Crash. That is a perfect sort of B picture to this, even though that this is clearly the B picture. So Star Crash is the Z picture, but we'd have a lot of fun in space. So Star Crash is my go-to. And we were talking synth score too. Just come on, just nonsensical synth score that I love. So that's where I'm going with it.
All right, guys. Well, we are at that favorite part of everybody's podcast listening, which is, of course, the What's Going On segment of our show. There's not a ton going on. I'll say this. This is your last Thursday episode before RetroCon, which is happening this weekend. So if you're looking for something to do and you live in the general Philadelphia, New Jersey area, come out to RetroCon. Say hello to me. Say hello to Gary and James from Monster Rally Podcast. Will be representing Geekscape, but we'll mostly have horror movie night swag. So come and buy a couple t-shirts and all of that good jazz, and start saving up some money, homeboys, because starting October 1st on hmnpodcast.com, the scare packages are back for the month of October. Get a nice random t-shirt, some swag. It'll be worth it. People loved it last year. We're bringing it back this year. And Kyle, I believe you may have something that you need to mention.
Yes, it's one of those things where I hope I'm not premature in announcing this, and I think that listener in front of the show, Justin Charles, will be okay with me saying this. But the Skate or Die Film Festival is happening in Pottstown, Pennsylvania. Not only is it an awesome film festival that you should go check out anyway, because there's legit roller skating, films, music, love, affection, horror, fun, Pennsylvania. Yeah. But Ouchie's going to be playing there.
Hell yeah.
So I think, and again, it's a little early, but I believe that myself, one of the stars of Ouchie, Kylie Lotz, is going to be there. I'm going to be there. I think Jeanette might be there. Regardless of if we are there or not, maybe we leave it a mystery. But you should go to the Skate or Die Film Festival because it's going to be an awesome time. Justin is I've not met him in person yet, but all of our conversations and all of our interactions and the fact that this festival exists, it's really exciting, very inclusive, very fun, doing a really cool thing. And I would love for you to support it. So check that out, Skate or Die Film Festival.
What's the date?
His blog's called, it's October 5th and 6th or 4th and 5th. Whatever, I think it's the Friday, Saturday.
That would be the 5th, 6th. No, 4th, 5th.
4th, 5th.
Yep.
Yeah, I believe it's the 4th, 5th. But yeah, so Ouchie's playing down there. A lot of cool bands, some other cool shorts.
And I'm just saying, Kyle, if you come on down, someone's birthday is just a couple days away from that who lives near there. So
I know that, which is one of those things, which is also, do I make one trip, both trips, all trips? Do I just keep coming down to Pennsylvania?
Just move
every
here
weekend?
Eventually. That's what it needs.
That's what I got going on.
Well, then let's wrap this up with the what have we watched, read, listened to, etc. Listeners, you don't know this because we are so seamless with how we put out this episode, but this is It has been over a month since we've recorded an actual episode.
It's been crazy.
I was like looking at my list of everything that I've like partaken in for like a month. I'm like, God damn.
Yeah.
But shockingly,
I have about 5 items, which is crazy for me to be able to bring to the table.
But shockingly, this one thing hadn't wrapped up before we had record it. So I'm gonna just quickly say that like The Boys season 4 really, I agree with you, Scott, that it was a rough start, but I feel like they stuck the landing in season 4. I'm ready for this final season.
Me too.
And just stoked to see where they go with it. But I'm also, as I said a couple episodes ago, very glad that there's only one more season left.
Yes, agreed. Yeah.
And that's it. I'll keep that one short and sweet. So,
all right, and I'm going to keep mine relatively short as well, as you know, I am long-winded, but so for some people may know this, some people may not, but Megan and I went up to Maine. My dad was a long distance motorcycle lover, and when he died, one of his long distance motorcycle riding buddies asked if he could purchase Dad's motorcycle as a tribute, and we said sure, as long as you take Megan on one last ride on it, because my dad would take Megan on the back of the bike all the time. We met him in Albany, and we took some of his ashes, and Megan and I drove to Albany. We met the motorcyclist, and then she rode on the back of the bike from there over the course of a couple of days up to Madawaska, Maine, which was about 1,000 miles. It was like a long trip. And during that time, when I was the chase car, and I was keeping myself relatively chill by consuming CBD and listening to Stephen King books on tape. And so I
appropriate for Maine.
Yeah, well, I mean, we stayed 2 nights in Bangor. That explains people, you know, that follow the Facebook page. You saw that we were there, got a picture in front of the Stephen King house, and we went to Mount Hope Cemetery where they filmed some of Pet Sematary. But while I was alone in the car, I listened to all of Graveyard Shift, and I also listened to a bunch of Lovecraft. And then I also was listening to a more recent short story collection from Stephen King called The Bazaar of Bad Dreams. And what I really liked about that was, and I didn't know anything about it, I literally was like at a stop sign, and I had just finished Graveyard Shift, and I was like, what's on Libby that I can go with next? And so I picked it, and there were little mini essays that Stephen King narrated between each story. And he talked about how short fiction is hard for him because he has to stay focused, and if he doesn't wrap up everything in it, people will notice. Instead of with one of his like 900-page opuses, you know, he doesn't have to edit himself down as much. And it was so interesting to spend that time kind of with my younger self, because I read a lot of Stephen King in junior high and the beginning of high school, and then I fell off around 1996, 97, I'd say, and I rekindled that love. Like Graveyard Shift was so good. I mean, it's basically Night Shift. It was most of the stuff from Night Shift, but it had Graveyard Shift, it had Last Rung on the Ladder, Man Who Loved Flowers, and then it ended with Salem's Lot, which with Jerusalem's Lot, which is the original short, which is actually Lovecraft. It has nothing to do with vampires, which I was like, oh God, I don't really want to listen to this, but I'm in the car and I got to kill some time, so I listened to it, and I was like, holy shit. I had no idea, because I don't even know if I read that when I read Night Shift for the first time as a kid, and it is like top 5 Stephen King shorts for me now. It's so good. And I really loved hearing him do an homage to Lovecraft, because Lovecraft is such a specific kind of like style. And because I listened to Reanimator, like the entirety of Reanimator right before going into Graveyard Shift. And so it was like really interesting to kind of dissect it that way. Such an interesting, I mean, I know I've talked a lot of shit about Stephen King in the last calendar year on this show, and I have to rescind it as long as it's short stories, because I still have problems with long stories. Because like my mother-in-law was like, oh, why don't you listen to Duma Key on audiobook while you're in the car? And I'm like, it's 22 hours long. I'm not listening to it. So that's what I did.
Yeah. What a lovely trip to have done that on, though, too. You know, you're talking about time and place where you were younger and you felt this way, and everything feels kismet there, Scott. And that you enjoyed it. I'm glad it wasn't like, you dive back into it and it was like, fuck, like that was a waste of my trip and my time. I'm glad that was not the case. But the short, and I feel very similarly. Like, I can appreciate the extent that it takes to King to do that stuff, but I really like the short stories. Have either of you read Stephen King on Writing?
No,
yes.
And I haven't read Dance Macabre either.
Okay.
Yeah, both of those. I've said this before and I still stand by it. Stephen King, the novelist, is great. I prefer Stephen King, the short story writer, but more than either of those, I love Stephen King, the essayist, like the essay writer. And like, there was a long period of time, and maybe we're reading this along with me before we knew each other, Kyle, but like, I was subscribing to Entertainment Weekly at a certain point just because the back page was always a page-long essay from Stephen King about what was happening in pop culture at that moment in time.
Yeah.
It was like, I would literally get Entertainment Weekly in the mail, and I would open to the last page first and read like Stephen King's like essay about something that month in pop culture, and then would go through the rest of the magazine. They were so good.
Oh, those would be fun to go back through and read.
Yeah.
I did not know
and
that.
And cheaper than buying Fangos, old Fangos.
No kidding.
Yeah.
I have On Writing on my bedside table. It's on deck for me. But I also have realized that like I don't want to read something that is educational and beneficial to what I do right before bed. So like I have it there. It needs to move. It probably needs to move to the bathroom so I can read it instead of looking at my phone while I take a grumpy.
Yes.
I watched a movie called Hush, and it's not Flanagan's Hush. It is Hush with Gwyneth Paltrow and Jessica Lange. And it is a domestic thriller horror that is just, it feels Lifetime movie content-wise, but it was done in 98 as a theatrical release, which means that it like takes that stuff just to the next level. And I think there's a really beautiful sweet spot in the mid to late 90s, probably losing steam a little bit in the early aughts, but like you could make those movies. I mean, we kind of saw it with The Crush. It feel like The Crush feels like sort of the beginning of that timeline for at least what we watch on the show, and Hush could easily fall into there. It's just not very horror-y. It really is. It is more thriller, even though The Crush is the same. The Crush had a couple more extreme topics, I think, than Hush does, but I don't like Gwyneth Paltrow as an actor. Like, she's not great.
No.
But she's really, really good in this as a fiance, then almost wife, who then is going to have a child, but then the mother-in-law is very protective / involved with her fiance husband. I actually can't remember if they got married or not. It's like one of those things where like life events move so quickly to get to the drama of whatever the thing is that they are doing, but it's just such a treat. Like, Jessica Lange is absolutely unhinged. Like, she is American Horror Story level in 98. So it's like, I mean, she has that range from the jump. Like, she's just an incredible actor. So to see her in that capacity, in that style that's like not like a Ryan Murphy thing, is really cool. I really enjoyed it. It's not a good movie by any means. It's pulpy, it's trash, it's like all of these things, but it's if you're listening to this, you likely know that I like that.
Yes.
So Hush from 98, and I think it's on Tubi. Very fun. Very, very fun.
Nice. Love it. Well, guys, we will be back with more of your listener submitted picks next week, where I don't even know how the title of this movie came to be. So just stay tuned. Yeah. We'll figure it out. It's a real mystery.
Notes.
Yay!
It is mind-blowing.
And heartbreaking.
How many original scripts are written every year but are never made?
So we seek out these scripts and bring them to life with full audio production and professional actors.
Check us out at Undiscovered Scripts.
Movies made of paper.
Wherever you get your podcasts.
Free!
Hello everyone, we're Superhero Stuff You Should Know, and if you think you know about superheroes and comic books, think again.
We got romance. We got action.
Romance?
We got comedy. We got everything you need, man. Come on down to Superhero Stuff You Should Know for all your superhero needs.
I don't know about this romance. What part are you talking about?
We've got all kinds of sketches, and then deep dives on top of that. Come on down to Superhero Stuff You Should Know.
All right, so come on down to... Wait, why did I say come on down? To Superhero Stuff You Should Know.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network.